Good to see you. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Doing well. Doing well. Good to see you. Good, good. Good to see you. Good. Doing well. Garrett, good to see you. How did we make out during the rain?
Really good. About 2.5 inches.
Good. Good to see you. Good. Bob, good morning.
Did you have a good weekend?
Good. Oh, I did. How about you? We make out all right?
Yeah.
Not too bad, all right?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
I do that every weekend.
All right. Well, I was downtown and it was kind of soupy. We ate down here on yeah.
You good? This is perfect.
I was glad they canceled the parade. They're going to do the parade. They need to move it up in the morning or they're going to pick the worst hours to do the parade. How are you doing? Good.
Good to see you. Andrew, I saw you making a dash out in the parking lot.
It's 9:30 time. Sucks for me. I'm on the air until 9.
Yeah, you were sprinting.
It's a mad dash down here. I mean,
I was going to put a finish tape across the door and you break through it.
the official in question has been known to start early.
No, we made sure we weren't going to start early this time. I didn't even.
I've heard politicians make promises before, sir.
I said I felt silly here just standing here last time, so I'm sorry I got started a little early. It looks like it is. It does appear that that it is 9:30, and so we're going to get started here. I do appreciate it. To say that this is probably the biggest week of so far being mayor doesn't seem very big, and only my third week. But for me, this is one of the most important weeks that we're going. Mainly because this will be the chance for us really to begin the things we've talked about. How do we work together with our own council and jurisdictions? We will be having our first council meeting since I've become mayor. Will be this week, and I'm very excited. Looking forward to going to the agenda review session this morning and discussing that this afternoon with the councilors, council members, and so look forward to working with them. But I'm also very excited about working with other jurisdictions. And along those lines, we'll be meeting. I have a meeting tomorrow afternoon with Commissioner May and the county staff and the city staff will be meeting for the first time for us to be able to sit down. It's my expectation to do these at least monthly, if not probably maybe twice a month, certainly depending on what their schedule's like and what our schedule's like. Some of the things that we've already discussed, set the agenda that we'll be meeting and talking about, will be homelessness and panhandling. I do believe it is essential that we work together with the county and create some kind of master plan for how we deal with this that will really tackle not only ordinance issues for us to deal with panhandling, but really probably some real issues for us to come forward with a plan and probably some funding to tackle homelessness and put some resources toward homelessness. So we'll be talking about that on Tuesday. The other thing that I'm very proud about, looking forward to talk about here from the city's perspective, one of the things in the county was, and I think that we got the surveys and we're going to talk about that, but one of the things I found very helpful that also provided a cost savings for us at the county, but also helped was a morale booster for our employees, and one of the biggest benefits they have is the clinic we have. We certainly have a nurse here at the city, but we don't have a full doctor and a clinic opportunity, not only for those employees, but also their dependents. We had that at the county. So I'd actually gotten a call shortly after being installed from Amy Lavoie saying that they were re-looking at their stuff and they might have an opportunity to talk to us about joining them out there. And so we want to look and see what we can do. I'm not saying that we're going to be able to do anything one way or the other. We're going to have to look how cost effective it is. But I have been told that we've been looking for wellness programs here. What we saw at the county was what it really did was it helped slow down the acceleration of the cost for health insurance for our employees by us having that opportunity to be able to catch things faster, solve things faster, and having that amenity there for the employees. It also made us, not only was an amenity for them, but it also really helped us save money. So again, we want to evaluate that and see if that can happen. One of the other items is Burgess Road. While I was on the board, I know this has been near and dear to Sherry Meyer's heart. Sherry had funding scheduled for Burgess Road, and I was able to obtain funding from the county. This is going to be worth looking at sidewalks and some drainage improvements on Burgess Road. And so it was, about 2/3 of that section is in the city, and about 1/3 of it is in the county. But we are looking to look at how we can begin to start that project and begin to initiate it and get it fixed up for the people in that area. Last, we'll also be talking about Citizens Diplomacy, Gulf Coast Citizens Diplomacy Council. I think it has been a great organization. I certainly sponsored it while we were at the county. My understanding is the county is running out of room, and they are asking us if we have some opportunity in office space here in this building. And I know I've been told, I'm still just getting used to the building, but I've been told we might have some space here. So if we can find opportunity to move them here, I think they certainly have been a very beneficial part of telling the Gulf Coast and really the Pensacola story across the world. I've been, Gina Malasan has done a great job of bringing people from all over the world through the State Department to Pensacola, and we'd like to see that continue. And if the county is run out of room for them to be there, we're certainly going to look and see if there are opportunities to house them here. I also want to say this week is very important to 2 other jurisdictions. I have not had a chance to reach out to them. I just dictated a letter while I was upstairs, and we'll be sending it out to both the mayor of Gulf Breeze and the mayor of Milton. And I'm very excited. 3 new mayors coming in across the area. I've had a chance to serve with Mayor Landfair for Gulf Breeze and work with him before on a couple of items that we were dealing with. Certainly when we discussed the bridge back when that was going forward, and some other things. I've had a chance to go to Gulf Breeze, and I'm looking forward to working with him. But I'm really excited about Mayor Lindsay. Not only have had the opportunity to work with her as the attorney for the city of Milton, but Heather and I are both Washington High grads of 1988. I believe I'm the first Washington graduate to be the mayor of Pensacola, and I'm pretty sure she's the first Washington high school graduate to be the mayor of the city of Milton. So 2 of us there together. I can't remember whether Heather went to Cordova Park or Scenic Heights, but I know we both went to Workman and to Washington together. So I'm very excited for her, and that she'll be taking over in the city of Milton. So again, I think one of the things we campaign on is how do we do a better job of working with other jurisdictions. So we will be doing that and continuing to work. One of the other things that we wanted to talk about from last week was the employee surveys. We did get about 280 surveys back, around that many. That's about 1/3 of the people employees who work for the city of Pensacola. We've gone through those, and again, sort of the story that was in the News Journal is very accurate as to what we thought came out of it, in the sense that was, though, that they felt like there were challenges with pay. Those will be things we have to address in we will be looking to address as we move forward in the next year's budget. We've made commitments in dealing with some departments. I know we talked about the police and some of the things we're doing there and trying to deal with compression. We'll try to figure out a way to deal with that in other departments, but clearly I did get a couple emails over the weekend from citizens that reminded me that the taxpayers. So I think we'll have to stay within what we have, the budget, and what we'll be able to generate as far as tax revenues. But we do want to start looking at addressing some of those pay issues, and we'll begin doing that with the budget cycle. There are a couple of items that were there that were written through that we can do right away. One of them was sending more city staff, legal staff, to city boards, which is one of the things I mentioned last week that we were looking to do, and it was one of the recommendations that came through there. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more. Again, it was significant, and we felt like the employees gave us a good taste of what's out there and things we can begin to work with. I'm not saying we're going to be able to solve everything immediately overnight, but we are going to be making efforts, our best effort, to try to do that. So we will be we'll begin moving forward on that as well as we start this next week and really get into the budget. The other thing that's happening here is, my understanding is the PPD, and seeing Chief Leiter was here, and seeing in the back, they are beginning a reaccreditation this week. So it's been close to 2 years since their last accreditation, and they are beginning that as they move forward. It's a 3-day process in which a team of 3 assessors will come in and evaluate general orders, interview members of the department, and review physical aspects of the department. The accreditation helps to ensure that the Pensacola Police Department is using best practices and helps the police with operations. And then in February, there'll be a conference in which the accreditation status will be received. And again, I think Chief Leiter is here. If there's any questions, I'll let him come up and talk about that. If there are any questions about that as we move forward. I'm excited. I think we've already scheduled with Chief Leiter later. We talked about work days. We are going to, in late December, after the holidays, I'm going to spend a day riding and spend a day with the police department and seeing what they do and seeing how we can make a difference and probably make us more effective at administering services we do for public safety. So looking forward to doing that. Two other things that happened last week, Triumph status, and I want to update all of you on that. For the most part, we had 2 requests that were out there, one of which we talked about last week is where we stand with ST Aerospace. Clearly, we are a few million, as we talked about last week, behind. It's more a case of just trying to figure out where we can get the commitments for allocating the money. We want to go through the legislative process, but obviously that doesn't happen until a couple months from now. We also, it's very hard for us to establish relationships with DOT when we don't even know who the new Secretary of DOT, because the governor will not take office until January. So while we are preliminarily trying to reach out, we won't really know a lot of things. So we asked for a 90-day extension. Triumph was very gracious to work with us and give us additional 90 days. We feel like this will give us sufficient time to both work with the new administration in the governor's office and with the legislature to be able to see what we can do along funding there. The other one, which I didn't see necessarily as quite I saw it more just us needing to fine tune what we were doing at the Port of Pensacola, and I really have not gotten behind that one and understood some of the dynamics as the way it came together. So I was glad we had a little bit more time. I think it's it's been something I've championed for a long time. The county supported it during the campaign. I said we need to be moving into research. I think it is very difficult to compare research jobs with regular industrial or other type of jobs, only in the sense that if you do a research opportunity, you are betting on the success of what they will be able to do. So we need to fine tune that a little bit better in how we go to Triumph. There are certainly some things in there that did make the cost per job more than what other jobs have been, but I think it's much more valuable because you don't know what that will do. If we hit something in research, it gives you the opportunity. The upside is significantly better, and I would say for most places you can't invest in research unless you have this kind of one-time opportunity that we really have with Triumph. So we're going to sort of come back together with IHMC and see what we can do and make a better presentation and just kind of be cognizant of some of the things that they talked about and their understanding so that we can be better about describing that to them. Lastly, we want to talk about the ARB meeting and where we go forward into this week. As many of you know, the ARB had a meeting about the school board, and I want to say the end result, I certainly was supportive of where the DIB went. I thought it was the right decision. However, I was very disappointed in the way we got to that decision, and I want us to begin to do a better job in how we do that. There seems to be some confusion whether there were sign-up sheets there, whether sign-up sheets were filled out and weren't taken. I'm not sure what happened, but in somewhere in the process, there were people that showed up to speak and they did not get the opportunity to speak, and that clearly should not happen. It's not the DIB's fault, it's not anybody else's fault. I'm going to take responsibility for that in the sense of I've put forward, I asked the chairman to reschedule the meeting and reschedule the vote. Checking the charter, he is the only one that has the ability to do that. He's chosen not to do that. So what we've chosen to do is to pursue that you will see an add-on come on this week to the City Council that will say we want to change the way all city boards evaluate and ask for public input. I think it's very easy. When I was at the Triumph meeting, which was kind of interesting, that the next day on Friday, every time an item came up, President Gates asked everyone in the audience, is there any more public speakers? Does anybody want to come speak to this? That's basically what I've worked with the city attorney to put forward an add-on ordinance that basically just amends the rules and asks us that it becomes required for all boards to ask that question. And if in the process they don't ask the question, it makes any decision challengeable by a citizen if they want to challenge that decision. So we're going to ask that the City Council adopt that this week and change some of the policies the way we run. Again, I'm not disappointed with the final decision. I did speak in that position, but I am disappointed in the way we got there. Well, that's not at all what we believe in. We believe if we're talking about truly open government that's going to be transparent and allows people to come in and participate in it, then they ought to have the right to speak at it. So, those are just some of the things that are going on from here. Now the fun part starts. I've said all the things I want to talk about. What do y'all want to talk about today? And I'll be happy to see if I can answer your questions.
Have you talked with the chairman of the ARB personally?
I have not talked to Carter personally. No, I have not at this particular time. Again, I certainly understood that the request was made through staff to him, and his position was he was not going to retake the vote.
So is there any remedy or course of action at this point regarding that vote? Does City Council have review power or is there anything other than them reconvening on the issue?
We looked at, I worked with Licia, Ms. Bowling, to the city attorney, to look at that course of action in the charter. And again, what our review came back is that only the chairman has the ability to do that. And if the chairman did not make that decision, there's no real way for us to go by. There was some question as to whether the chairman was subject to, or something could be done to them through the mayor's office. The mayor does not have that ability. That wasn't really our objective. We wish that Mr. Keno would have reconsidered. I think it would have been a better decision all the way around. That's my personal opinion, but he chose not to. It's not a case of he's responsible to the city council. He will have to answer to that to the city council. But neither the city council nor the mayor can make him reconvene on that vote. So we evaluated that. What we decided to do was change the rules that would allow for a citizen to contest a decision if that happens in the future. And that's what we want to bring forward to the council to at least look at.
And that can be done through statute, it's not a charter change?
It's not a charter change, it can be done through policy, correct. Yes.
So you said one of the big things that you wanted to tackle this week was homelessness and panhandling. What exactly do you want to do? Well,
that I think is, the solutions are not going to come to us just this week. But this week what we're going to begin to do is we're going to sit down with the county. I think it's critical, I've said over and over again, that if the county and the city aren't on the same wavelength, then all we're going to do is simply push the panhandlers from one jurisdiction to the other. We really need to be doing the same ordinances. We need to be doing the same program. I think they're almost two different issues. I think there really are two different issues, but I don't disagree that if we're not truly making efforts to deal with homelessness, then panhandling is going to be more difficult for us to address. I do think the city and the county, I'm looking at things that I understand. Fort Walton and Okaloosa County have worked together for a Come As You Are shelter. So again, there are things that we might want to look at on resolutions that begin to help curtail homelessness, and we want to work with that, and we want to continue to do what we can going forward. But I do believe ultimately in this outcome too, it's not just talking about homelessness, but it is talking about panhandling. I mean, clearly it's unfortunate the event that happened in Baltimore last week, but I think it just speaks to the whole challenge that cities are going to have with panhandling and how they address it. And I don't think in giving money to individuals on the streets we're necessarily helping them. What we should be doing is helping them get full recovery, which I think is we should be asking people to do another way to give, which is to give to those organizations that support. And that's the part I want to get in. How can we do that? I don't think the county and the city can solve it themselves. I think the city and the county can do something like begin to work on a shelter, but really kind of turn it over to some of these agencies. And I think if you're passionate about homelessness, then you should be donating your money to one of those agencies and helping them solve the problem. Because if we want to help people, they typically, most of the people that are homeless for a reason. They either had a hard time or they've had mental health or something else. Leaving them on the street and giving them $1 so that they continue to deal with the addiction and the problems they have does not help them. If we really want to be involved in them, then we ought to be investing in solutions that will help them get out of homelessness.
And you spoke about the incident that happened in Baltimore. Do you fear something like that happening here? Can you talk about that?
I think anytime things happen like that, it's disturbing. And again, when things tend to happen in one community, you see kind of a carbon copy, or that copycat kind of thing happen across there. It would be unfortunate. It sounds like there are people that are legitimately just wanting money, but it now appears that people who wish to do more harm are using that circumstance to commit other crimes. So You know, it just shows a vulnerability that we need to be cognizant of. And I'm sure Chief Leiter and them, you know, their department are looking at that too. I mean, once you see something happen somewhere, it's not long before it happens other places, and it's unfortunate that some people are using panhandling now to commit crimes, but it's just something we got to be cognizant of.
So you would like to see the rate of panhandlers and homelessness on the streets go down?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all would. I think some of the issues of homelessness, I think there are two different issues. I think some of the people that are panhandling are homeless. I think there are some people that panhandle because that's the job they take on. We regulate everybody else, what you do for a job. Everyone who's come down here, we've one way or another, we've regulated, we've made you have a license, we've done something to you, and we've told you how you can't conduct your business. Yet for some reason you can stand on the side of the road and ask for money. That doesn't seem, that's not productive to what we want to do. The other part is clearly we want to tell the other individuals, if you want to truly help the individual, if you think this person is homeless and you want to help them, then you should be investing in those organizations that help homelessness.
Mayor,
Yes.
This weekend, can you mind moving just a second? Thank you. The citizens got this. Did the taxpayers pay for this?
I want to say that was done. I was unaware of that until Friday. I was not aware that had been. I will answer the whole question. I was not aware of any of that had gone on. I did find out that yes, there was a contract done approved by the former mayor to put that out, and it was about $12,595 and some change. So it was money. It went through the vendor at the airport, is my understanding. I don't know whether it was airport fund money that went there, but apparently the vendor who does the PR for the airport is the one that had the contract, and it was approved by the prior mayor. And I don't know why it didn't, even some of the employees I talked to here, we're not sure why it did not happen, and it was scheduled to be sent out when the old mayor was still the mayor.
Right.
But again, we were totally unaware of it.
Can someone find out where the money came from, if it was paid out of the airport for us, or if it was done out of the mayor's office?
I can find that out. I can find that out today. So so I can get that to you. I was aware of most everything because I figured that question was coming, but I was not aware of that part. So I didn't figure out exactly what happened. I do know that it was contracted through the vendor.
Imagination Unlimited is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. The other thing that's in there, it talks about a street lighting survey that was done and city needs assessment. We've never seen those reports. Can we get copies of those reports?
I will ask staff. Again, none of the stuff that was done was this administration.
Right.
So I almost have to go back to the prior administration. I'll have to ask staff where those reports are or what's going on.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Because that's, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah, we need to.
And this administration did not approve that flyer and did not approve the money for that flyer.
Okay.
Although I think we'll get stuck paying for it now at this point because of the timing of it. But in my understanding, it was an approved expenditure by the former mayor.
Just a follow-up. So we're going to get, we'll get, you know, where the funds came from. We'll also get a copy of the lighting survey and the city needs assessment.
I will ask Vernon, can you send this out to everybody that's here? Yeah. Okay. We can have that stuff.
All right. Thank you.
Lighting needs survey. Okay. We can do that. Jeremy.
Yeah, just real quick on the mailer. Did that go to everyone in Pensacola?
My understanding is it went to every citizen in the city of Pensacola.
Okay. City council, what are your priorities in working with council?
You know, I mean, really putting forward an agenda that we can work together on. You know, from that standpoint, it's how do we do it together? There are a variety of different things. But I met a couple of times with Council President Andy Tahar. We've talked about some ways we can shorten the meetings. I know that Councilman Tahar has talked about even going to 2 meetings a month. Now tomorrow or this week, we will approve the 1 meeting we will have. If we can get things done within a sufficient time, then I think we continue to work along that 1 meeting. But I think all of us agree that it's not productive for the council members. It's not productive for the public for us to be making decisions probably after 9 o'clock. If we can't get our business done fast enough then perhaps we need to be looking at that, what we can do. But there are some ways we can move some things faster in there. And I want to be very clear. I know I talked to a couple other council members that were concerned. They didn't want to curtail any citizen time or council member time. And I said, I don't either. Those are times that we're there and we should stay as long as we need to for us to talk on that point. But some of the things that, again, at the county, we never read the ordinance, and we don't spend a lot of time, dead time, reading the ordinance again. So we go through the process of that part. It's just extra time that people aren't there. I mean, if there's an item that nobody is there to speak on or anything else, then there's a way we can handle that and go through agenda review. Anybody can sign up to speak to an item if they want to. They're certainly free to, and we encourage them to come down here and speak to it. But if those items are, I think we got to be more efficient with the time that we've asked for citizens to be here, to allow for that time for when they want to speak and when the council wants to speak. That's much more important to me.
On scheduling?
I'm sorry, Chairman, just one more follow.
Do you think meeting, once a month is enough time, logistically speaking, first hearing, public, second public hearing, that kind of stuff?
I have concerns about the one time a month. I know that Council President Andy Tahar has concerns about the one time a month. At the same time, every time I met with a council member, I've told them I'm going to respect some of the things that they want to do, but I am going to ask that we are more efficient with everybody's time. But it's their meeting. I'm not looking to run into their meeting. That's part of the relationship that we have. It's not my job to run in there and run over them. It's their meeting. But I don't think it's unreasonable for me to ask. And certainly hearing Council President Tahar, he feels the same way as me, that the meeting could be more efficient.
On meeting scheduling, since you're meeting with Commissioner May, I know it's, again, not your meeting, but not only the issue of 2 a month, but if there's any way to not conflict with the county meetings, as you know, that becomes a problem for people who are interested in issues before both boards. That would be a great goal if that could be an outcome.
Well, the good thing is there are generally 4 Thursdays, I think, in a month, and the county's taking the odd ones. We can always take the even ones. I know every now and then those special meetings happen, but we will make every effort not to bump up against each other. Usually what happens is, when that happens, it's either in July because of 4th of July, or it's in December at Christmas. But for the most part, we don't generally fall on each other's meetings. We try to work very hard, and we will continue to do that for the very reason that you mentioned. Chairman?
You were talking about working with other jurisdictions or meeting with other jurisdictions. You know from the county that the county and the city weren't having a lot of joint meetings. Do you foresee having joint meetings?
We absolutely want to have joint meetings. I think that was one of the things we want to talk about when I'm sure it will come up in our meeting, how we do that process. Let me say, it was one of my goals when I became a county commissioner in 2006 to do that. And between 2006 and 2010, we did have a series of meetings. We had generally a series of productive meetings. They led to curbside recycling. There were a variety of things, the ECAT getting funding through the gas tax. All of those things came out of joint meetings that we had, and we were very successful. After 2010, I think all of us were sort of concerned, what was the relationship? At the BCC, we were never sure whether, are we meeting with the mayor? Are we meeting with the council? Are we meeting with the mayor and the council? I mean, it was something we didn't control, and there was not as much of a, the first time I was chairman, Mike Wiggins was the mayor, and we met a number of times. The second time I was chairman in 2015, Mayor Hayward was the mayor, and we did not meet. We met a couple of times, but we did not meet nearly as regularly as I did before. It's my goal to at least meet regularly with the chairman, and then look at how we can bring our whole boards and councils together for a meeting as well.
What issues do you see, coming before them immediately? You're mentioning homelessness and
I think that's one of them that we're talking about right now. I think, but there will be things as basic as how can we work together on healthcare and dealing with our own employees. I mean, that's something we've talked about. Clearly, we have a nurse, but we can incorporate her. We can bring some of, again, our assets, we could bring out there and simply reassign her out there. We could participate in some other way with that, and if it could help our insurance. I know I've talked internally to our HR, and I've been told there is money for a wellness program that would be provided by our insurance provider, because they recognize there is a long-term both benefit to them and us by preventing and encouraging better health care and just better access. So that's my goal, is if we can do that. There are a lot of different things that will be on the table. And again, sometimes new things will come on that you never thought of.
Where is the county clinic?
The county clinic is on, is that Jordan? It's right between, it's between Palafox and PHS. It's right. It's basically on Balin in Jordan, I think,
Okay.
right there.
Okay. So it's within the city limits.
It's
Or
right.
close to.
It's right on the border of the. Somewhere in there, we go from the city to the county, and I'm never exactly sure where it is, but it is right there where up there by PHS, right where the city and the county both border.
All right.
And there was a medical building, I think, on the corner but it's in that block, and it's kind of catty corner right there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Okay.
On the IHMC UWF port project,
Yes.
that happened Friday. It was kind of a lot of pushback from the board. Next steps for that, where are you at in making that project happen?
I didn't see it necessarily is that negative. I mean, I think the issue they were coming back is help us understand research. And there were several questions there. Okay, can we talk about patents? Can we talk about something else? Because they understand per job, it sounds very difficult. But the idea of research, what you don't know in the research game, is when you turn off, some patent actually can be commercialized. You may create 1,000 jobs right there off something you discover. You may create only 30 jobs, but the point is it's hard to quantify the jobs that will come out of a discovery that is made. But one thing that's fairly sure, whether you look at all research facilities, one way or another, they do create. I mean, that's the reason they're so important when you look at other universities and what they've been able to do. It's one of the things that innovation happens all over. And you look at the economies of places like Gainesville, Florida. I still think we should be competitive in a sense of where you would want to do something. But the reason people are in Gainesville is because they have the ability to access research that happens at the University of Florida. So if we can have those opportunities here in Northwest Florida, and we can do the research here, and then we have the opportunity to bring companies in here, they may only be 5, 10, 30 employees. But we may have a hit that's 1,000 employees, but it's hard to quantify that and say that going in. And Ken Ford and Julie Shepard and IHMC are only willing to commit to those jobs they know that they can put on the table, which is 100. The problem is the guy there who evaluated it said he graded it an A. He thinks there will absolutely be something out of there that's a hit. The question is, how do we quantify that and make that understandable so it can relate to an ST job? I just think there are two different types of jobs. Not that ST jobs are great and they will have spinoff, but they don't have as much upside potential to discover a new product that will create more jobs. They always say the future of the jobs, most of those in the future, many of those jobs are not even now being utilized at all, because it's going to depend on some type of new technology discovery or something else application.
So it sounds like your approach is more to focus on enhancing the presentation of benefits rather than to focus on changing the cost involved, so to make it more palatable to them.
A little bit of both. There is the opportunity. They didn't like the rent situation that they were going to have to pay. What I reminded them is it wasn't equal dollar for dollars, because those dollars in the future, the rent would be future value, and we need to get paid in present value. So, but it should be a fairly easy present value for us to figure out, take those future payments, those rent payments, and figure out. And I'm willing to absolutely reduce the cost by that. I said, from the city's perspective, the jobs and the opportunity and the access, the capability of what this opens up is much more important than getting rent. So I said I was more than welcome to look at that. But I really think we need to also reevaluate, is there a better way to quantify things? Is it patents? Is it something else that we can quantify and make the presentation a little bit better? Because I understood what they were saying, but I also understood from Julie's perspective. She believes there will be a lot more jobs, but she can't commit to any more jobs than what she knows she and IHMC are going to create.
Do we know where the port study is? We asked last week, and I know it's a lot to track fast, but... My
understanding is, I have seen it, and it is coming forward to the council and the mayor. We're getting a deliverable, should be before the end of the year, and we should have something that's there. I think what it will say is the port is a viable asset for the city, and people want to see that. It will also say that the port is probably what people want to see, and more applicable for downtown as a niche port that plays to certain niches, and that we shouldn't be afraid to reevaluate new niches like the opportunity for the research. I think that's what's going to come out of it and what's there. But I think overall, the majority of residents believe, and most of the people that answered the survey believe that the port is an asset that can be utilized for both revenue to the city and jobs for the city, and they want to see it done that way.
I'm sorry, you said you have seen it? Is that what you said?
I've seen a version of it. I have not seen the final product. No, I've seen what they briefed the prior administration on. That's all I've seen, and it was not the final product. It was kind of a draft of the final product.
By niche port, you mean not a traditional working port?
It will still be a working port. What it will be, I don't think we're going to be. We're not going to be Jacksonville. We're not going to be Miami. I mean, we're going to have to find what are the things that make sense for us. There's clearly the belief that when you see the ship out there right now, that they're for the repair and maintenance and overhaul. We're in that business. We can compete in that business. We can compete in certain what we've been looking at is those niche markets where we can do containerized service that are being successful. Amy has ships coming in here. The conversations I've had with her are, she is beginning to get what we want. And if she understands what we are viable in, she can go find places to do it. I think what we're not viable in is industrial rock crushing at the port. We've already had that discussion, and I think what's going to come out of this is there are certain things that we don't want to do out there, but there are certainly other things that make sense, and we need to really turn Amy loose and allow her to be successful in those niches that we can be successful in.
Burgess Road, why is that a priority for you?
It's been a priority because we've looked at it for a number of years. I think one of the things that we've continued to talk about is it is great to see the access and walkability that happens in downtown, but Pensacola is much larger than downtown. I think when we looked at what has happened in District 2, there has not really been a lot of emphasis of city assets in coming back into those communities. I think what is happening with Burgess Road is similar to what we'll probably take on projects in other parts that simply say, we need the success we're experiencing downtown needs to be experienced in every area, and I think District 2 and Sherry Myers has been trying to deal with this for a while. I certainly realize there are other districts 5, 7, 1 that have also been dealing with some of this, being on the outskirts. We will be in those neighborhoods, Rick, but this project just had priority of where it was, in the sense that it's been working for 8 years almost. And it's just now having the opportunity to come together.
Thank you.
Yes.
During last week's transition team meeting, you talked a little bit about what role the city could play in education, and you talked about community centers. Can you elaborate on that and what that might look like?
I've had several things. In fact, I had a lady last night. I was at a function, and she was talking to me about what we could do about teacher pay and other things. And I said, I don't see the city being involved in that. I mean, I think that's going to be the school boards. But I do believe the city has assets that we can help. One of the things that's been told to me is we need to do a better job of making Wi-Fi available at our places. I mean, Malcolm specifically told me these kids have Chromebooks, but they go to community centers and we don't have that. If we don't have that, then we need to be putting that in there. We need to be, making it so that there are opportunities. As somebody said the other day, we do a lot of athletic. And my understanding is we do use the community centers for academic as well, but we certainly use them for a lot of athletic, but we could use them for academic pursuits as well. I know there was a gentleman that was, I met at the Improv for the, I see Brian out there, I think it was Mr. Hendricks that you awarded. He was a software, he was the small business, one of your small business people. I sat down with him and he talked about this. He said, we have a great job. This community center competes against this community center. They have basketball teams and they compete, but do they have, do we have cyber teams that are working with them to perhaps deal with opportunities for them to compete in skills that they will use the rest of their life? Now, again, I'm a huge believer in sports. I believe you learn a lot about teamwork, and so I think those are good. I'm not going to discontinue athletic, but I'd like to find other ways for us to produce other academic pursuits that could be happening in those community centers, and how how we teach kids, whether it's STEM or whatever it is. I think there are opportunities to do that. I mean, I was very happy to hear, you know, what they did at we put in the new Chappie James Museum and the group that's there doing that. If we could expand upon that and do more of that in our community centers, I'd be very encouraged and see what we can do. All right. Well, that's all of our things. Thank you very much for coming this week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.